Jai Hind and good evening, my friends. Once again, this is Wing Commander Jaidev Desai talking to you. In the last video, I spoke about internal security and 7 topics I'll be talking to you divided internal security on 7 topics. And I said that I will cover these 7 topics in between 8 to 10 videos. And this is the second video of the series. Previous video, we did speak about 370 and 35A articles of Constitution related to Jammu and Kashmir. In that video, we spoke about background and how this 370 and 35A were inserted in a Constitution and what these articles are. Today, we'll be discussing about how these articles were removed from Constitution. Actually, I would say 35A was removed, but 370 was abrogated. And it is a very interesting way the whole thing is done. And I'm sure at the end of the video, you also will appreciate the very well planned and very well executed plan by the government to abrogate Article 370. Before I start, let me request you that, like previous videos of mine, if you like my videos, do share, do press the like button and subscribe my channel. Please request your friends and families also to subscribe my channel and view my videos. Before I start about how the thing was removed, let us recapture what we discussed last time. We said that in 1947 on 20th October, Pak attacked India. On 26th October, they reached Srinagar. On 26th October, King Hari Singh signed the instrument of accession. On 27th early morning, Lord Mountbatten signed it. And hence, on 27th October 1947, J&K became the integral part of India. immediately after that, Indian Army was airlifted to Srinagar and they started pushing the Pak army back. But at the end of 1948 or early 1949, January, India went to UN, and in April 1949, UNSC passed a resolution, and that resolution called for 3 things. Number 1, Pak army had to withdraw to pre-20 October place. Thereafter, Indian Army is supposed to reduce its strength slowly, and when both these are verified, plebiscite was supposed to be taken. But because Pakistan did not withdraw its army, plebiscite also could not be taken as per the UNSC resolution. In 1949, Sheikh Abdullah proposed special status for J&K to be included as a part of the Constitution. Finally, Article 370 was introduced in Constitution. As we discussed, it has 3 subclause, that is 370.1, 2 and 3, and 370.1 has got 4 subclause A, B, C, D. And in 1954, by presidential order, Article 35A was introduced, but it was kept hidden from the public by not publishing Article 35A in any of the Constitution edition published thereafter. Now, because of that, what happened? First of all, full Constitution and all the laws enacted by Indian Parliament could not be made applicable. And these laws, like, for example, Indian Penal Code was not applicable. Of course, they had Ranbir Penal Code instead, but it was not the same as Indian Penal Code. Assembly, like for all other state, assembly worked for 5 years, whereas there it was for 6 years. Prevention of Corruption Act was not applicable. Religious Institution Act 988, 1988 prevents use of religious place for political activities, was not implemented there. Delhi Police Special Establishment Act 1948, which gives the CBI power, that was not made applicable. Right to education, uh, right RTI, SC was given reservation but not ST. Wealth tax, gift tax, service tax laws, these laws were not applicable there. All government employees needed to swear to the Constitution of J&K but not swear to the Constitution of India. Delhi gang rape case of 2012 was not applicable. RTI we discussed. Now all this helped the J&K politician to happily indulge in corruption without fear, and there were reasons of other problems in J&K. Also, it gave the permanent residentship to the residents of J&K. And that came because of Article 35A. Now, because of that, what happened? The person who went to Pak, like for example, a person who went to Pak and then returned back from Pak were also given the permanent residentship. Rohingyas were given the permanent residentship of J&K, whereas Hindus who were staying in the state for long were not given permanent residentship. And all this gave the right to buy property, land to the permanent residents of J&K. They included the Rohingyas. Roshni Act was enacted, which gave the right or the priority to Rohingyas to get settled in Jammu. That disturbed the demography of Jammu. Now, many such things we can bring it out. But because of this, Kashmiris always felt themselves to be more of a Kashmiri than Indian citizen. So that was a fault line. And Pakistan exploited this fault line to infiltrate, create sympathizers in the valley, and implement their agenda to make India bleed 1,000 wounds, as mentioned in Operation Topaz. Also, we discussed various clauses of 370, 370, and which 370.3 specifically here I would like to recollect, which speaks about how the full or in part 370 can be removed. Before I talk about this Article 370-35A, I would like to go back again in history and go to 1986-87 election. The election was rigged very badly by Congress. Idea was to make National Conference, that is Farooq Abdullah, to win, and Farooq Abdullah became the Chief Minister of J&K. But because of this, what happened? These extremist people, they felt the faith in the democracy of India got reduced, and they took up the arm. That was one of the cause of extremists taking up the arms. And Pakistan was ever ready to help them and support them. So this fault line, Pakistan very ably exploited, and terrorism slowly and slowly started increasing. Also, the special status of Kashmir suited certain families, especially three families I will talk about, that is Abdullahs, Muftis and Azads. They benefited personally tremendously, and they looted the J&K. And many ills because of that found its roots in Jammu and Kashmir. One more thing we must understand, then political front, there are only three parties in Valley. BJP at the time was not there. So in the valley, there are only three parties. That is National Conference of Farooq Abdullah, PDP of Mufti Muhammad today, and Congress. In Jammu, when you talk about it, only Congress was there. And Ladakh also, generally, Congress was there. And the seat distribution was very, very different. Total 111 seats were there, out of which 24 were reserved for POK, because we consider POK as part of us. And whenever POK gets integrated in India, so that 24 seats were supposed to be coming from there. So effectively, there are only 87 seats where elections were held only in 87 seats. Now look at the distribution of these 87 seats. Out of 87, 4 seats were from Ladakh. 46 seats were from the valley, Kashmir Valley. And 37 seats were in Jammu. So that means, even if you win all the seats of Jammu, you cannot form the government, because in the valley, there was only PDP and NC and Congress. So in all the government formation, if you see that either Congress and NC or Congress and PDP have formed the government. But in 2015, the things changed. 2015, instead of Congress, BJP won almost all the seats in Jammu. In the valley, PDP got more seats than National Conference. So now, PDP or National Conference, one of them have to shake hand with BJP to form government. There was no other choice. Suppose BJP had not formed government with PDP at that time, re-election, what will happen re-election? The same thing. Instead of PDP getting more seat at that time in 2015, re-election could be NC. So either BJP had to form government either with PDP or National Conference. There's no other choice. As I explained, because of the seat distribution. And BJP decided to plunge in, and they formed the government with PDP. Now what I'm going to say is very, very important. Please understand the dates and remember the dates and what I'm talking about, what happened and on what date. In June 2018, BJP withdrew support and came out of the government in J&K. And as I said, there was no way anybody else could have formed the government unless PDP and NC come together. But that was not possible. So, as per the clause 92 of J&K Constitution, governor rule was established. But as per the 92 clause, Article 92 of J&K Constitution, governor rule cannot be extended for more than 6 months. So in December 2018, presidential rule was established, was proclaimed by presidential order. Now, in the presidential order, normally it is mentioned that Parliament will work as a state assembly. Like any time Article 356 is used, and any state, the presidential rule is declared. The presidential order generally mentions this. So that clause was nothing new. So the Parliament could work as a assembly of J&K. But the one more clause was added, which I feel is a unique clause and which is not there in all other presidential order when they declare the president rule in other states. That was, which said that as per Article 3 of Constitution of India, which talks about the reorganization of the state. Now, as per Article 3 of reorganization of state, when this reorganization is planned, the president refers the proposed plan to the assembly of the state, asking assembly to give their opinion in stipulated time. Now, here what he did, they said that for Article 3, for reorganization of the state, governor will work as an assembly, and governor shall give his opinion. Now remember, this happened in December 2018. That means by December 2018, it was decided that J&K state would be reorganized when this 370 is removed or abrogated. Finally, it happened when? 5th August 2019. That means, the way I look at it, again, when I go further in this video, I'll explain you. The plan and methodology was already worked out at least 1 year before that, or maybe 1.5 years before that. They were only hoping that after 2019 parliament election, BJP comes back maybe with a better majority. Let us now understand what happened on 5th August 2019. But just before 5th August, there are certain incidents were taking place, and that is also I must like to recollect. If you remember, in J&K, they said that certain foreign-made rifles are found. And based on that, they cancel the Amarnath Yatra. And all the people who were yatris were basically asked to leave J&K and as early as possible. All the visitors were also asked to leave J&K as early as possible. On the pretext of this higher security requirement, around 30 to 40,000 additional paramilitary force were inducted in J&K. On 4th of August, all political leaders were put under house arrest. So generally the hint was given that something big is going to happen in J&K. But nobody could believe it is going to be that big. You know why? Because generally opposition always felt that this 370 cannot be removed. All opposition parties, including Congress, especially PDP and NC, if you remember their statement, Farooq Abdullah and all, Farooq Abdullah said that Modi, even दूसरी बार, तीसरी बार, पांचवी बार प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनेगा तो भी वो 370 रिमूव नहीं कर सकेगा. What PDP Mufti Mohammed, what Mufti said? She said that if you remove 370, Kashmir will no longer remain the part of India. The link between Kashmir and India will be broken. And कश्मीर में तिरंगा को उठाने के लिए कोई भी नहीं बचेगा. These are the statements, these are the beliefs these people had. So I'm sure they also did not think that next day, that is 5th of August, this is what is going to happen. With this background now, one more thing I must say here. In August, if you see the strength of parliament, and there is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha, NDA had the clear majority, 350 plus, but Rajya Sabha, NDA did not have the majority. So it was not possible to clear this type of important and controversial bill from Rajya Sabha. So what did the government do? As I understand, a foreign visit for the parliament members was arranged. And in that visit, no government from NDA, no member from Rajya Sabha go. As many as possible opposition member of Rajya Sabha were encouraged to avail that particular opportunity to go abroad. And they did avail. So when the voting took place in Rajya Sabha, they found the NDA has got a majority. Then they realized the, their strength is less because people are abroad enjoying the visit organized by the government. And that is why, because it was easy to pass bill in Lok Sabha, the bill was first introduced in Rajya Sabha. Now what happened on that day? In Rajya Sabha on 5th of August, first a presidential order was introduced. This order was read out by Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah. Now, what is under that? This order was issued under Article 370.1D. If you remember, 370.1D talks about requirement of concurrence of the state government for subject of presidential order in other than matter of defense, external affairs and communication. Three items mentioned in instrument of accession, signed by Hari Singh. So the order said the following. Constitution of J&K with all its amendment is suspended. It says that J&K Constitution is suspended with immediate effect, and with immediate effect, Article 35A was also removed. That is why means Article 35A was also removed automatically. Second, Indian Constitution with all its amendments till date was made applicable with immediate effect in J&K by this presidential order. Then it added the fourth clause in Article 367. One of the additions said that hereafter, J&K Constituent Assembly means J&K Assembly. If you recollect, we said that the removal procedure, that which is as mentioned in 370.3, requires concurrence of the J&K Constituent Assembly. Now, this Constituent Assembly was disbanded in 1957. So, how do we work? What do we do now? So, by this presidential order, they said that J&K Assembly hereafter will work as a Constituent Assembly. Now, what is J&K Assembly? It is the same as Parliament. So, that means Parliament now will work as a Constituent Assembly of J&K. That was the requirement of Article 370.3. So, that was brought in. Now, all this could not have brought in without the concurrence or recommendation of the governor, as per again Article 370. So, before this 5th of August, all this recommendation in writing was taken from the governor. So, as I said, with this, please consider what he did. While presidential order of President rule, Parliament could work as Assembly of J&K was mentioned. There is presidential order of December 2018, and then after 6 months again it was extended in June 2019. And now J&K Assembly, that is same as Parliament, is also made Constituent Assembly of J&K. So this can be used for 370.3 to remove the Article 370. After the House was informed about this presidential order, he immediately presented two resolutions. Now, these two resolutions had to be passed by the Parliament simultaneously because they are interlinked with each other. So, Parliament or Rajya Sabha first was informed that having this presidential order now, I am going to read out two resolutions which will be passed simultaneously by the House. Now, what are these two resolutions? The first resolution read that based on the power given by Article 370.3, please remember, what is 370.3? To remove Article 370 or in part or full. The Parliament recommends, because now Parliament now is working as a J&K assembly, not Constituent Assembly, assembly. Because any change other than those three topics, that is defense, external affairs and communication, you need the concurrence of the J&K assembly. So by this, it is asking Parliament to work as a J&K assembly, and says that Parliament recommends President to issue, now Parliament recommends President to issue public notification, and in that it declares that all the clauses of Article 370 ceases to exist. Reason: Parliament recommends President to issue a public notification that all the subclauses of Article 370 ceases to exist except the first one, that is 370.1. And that 370.1 hereafter will read as follows. And it says, and by that, it makes all the clauses of Indian Constitution applicable to J&K with immediate effect. That was the clause. That is a clause. So now 370, which was earlier 370.1, 2 and 3, and 70.1a, 1b, 1c and 1d, all this gone. Now when you open 370, only this particular is written, that all the whole constitution and all the amendment thereafter issued till now is made applicable with immediate effect. Now that means Article 3 gets implemented. What is Article 3? Is a reorganization of the state. Now the second resolution said that under Article 3, President has referred reorganization proposal for J&K to the Parliament for its views. Because for reorganization, you need the views of the assembly of that state. In this case, assembly is what? Parliament. So President is asking the views of Parliament to reorganize the state. And the House, it again says, and the House accepts the views to reorganize J&K state. So second resolution says that President has referred the reorganization proposal of J&K to the Parliament, and Parliament accepts the proposal for reorganization Parliament. And then Amit Shah said, half an hour this to be passed. And as I said, that at that time, NDA had the majority in Rajya Sabha and it got passed. Immediately it was sent to Lok Sabha. Same in Lok Sabha, it was passed in half an hour. So in 1.5 hours, all this was completed. Immediately thereafter, recommendation from both the chair, speaker and chairman of the Rajya Sabha, it was informed to the President that this is what accepted by the Parliament, both the houses of the Parliament. And then President forwarded the bill of reorganization of J&K, which was 58 pages of a document, and that also was passed on the same day. So in one day, all this paper work was done, kept ready, passed in both the houses. And as I said, the methodology used to abrogate Article 370 and remove 35A, as the time date when you see, the plan of that must have started at least 1.5 years back. And since they got the majority, more seats in Lok Sabha in 2019, so immediately it was implemented. Now, this reorganization of J&K bill says what? That J&K state is divided into two parts, Ladakh and rest of the J&K. POK becomes a part of the rest of the J&K. Ladakh becomes union territory like normal other, like Div, Daman and all, normal union territory without legislature. But J&K, yeah, UT is made like that of Pondicherry. If you see the union territory, there are two union territories have got assembly, Pondicherry and Delhi. Delhi has got less power than Pondicherry. So J&K was given the union territory thing rights same as that of Pondicherry. It's also said that Rajya Sabha seat will be retained as 4. Earlier 4 were there, and I've said that 4 members representing J&K state, it will be assumed that they are elected through this procedure. So these 4 Rajya Sabha members retain their seats. Lok Sabha also the number of seats were retained, 5 from J&K and 1 from Ladakh. So 6 seats. Now the assembly seats is concerned, initially I said there are 111 seats, out of which 24 are for POK. Now the 24 was retained and remaining seats were increased to 90. So that means 90 plus 24, that is a total 114, so 111, 114 seats were made. And they said, and also said, this distribution of the seat will be carried out by delimitation method exercised by Election Commission. So this 90 seats, again delimitation will take place. How many from J&K, how many from Kashmir and all, that will be decided by delimitation method exercise by Election Commission. And as announced now, till the time delimitation exercise not completed, election cannot be held. And hence, after delimitation, only the J&K election can be held. It also covers the thing like, for example, IAS, IPS distribution, Indian Foreign Service distribution, or services requirement. So all this nitty-gritty is there in that 58-page bill. And that is how, very smartly, very methodically, very planned way, and the whole thing was done, and it was executed extremely well. Whether the methodology is used or not, it was correct or not, I'm sure it is challenged in Supreme Court. But there are 3 clauses in the Constitution. I don't remember 118 if I'm not, 126 and one more, which says that you cannot strike off the what is passed in Parliament just because the procedure was not followed. Even if procedure of certain subject, certain bill, procedure requires prior approval of the President, for example, but here it is not taken. Suppose it is not taken. But after the thing, Parliament passes and President gives approval, then also it cannot be, Supreme Court cannot strike down the bill. So with this armament with the thing, I feel that this bill or the thing what they've done cannot be struck down on the basis of procedure not followed. Unless substantively something is unconstitutional, that only Supreme Court can go through. And the way I know, I am not a very big student of law and Indian Constitution, but whatever I know, I don't think the Supreme Court will be able to strike down this particular thing and reimpose 370 and 35A. At the end, I would say that 370 and 35A was alienating Kashmiris and creating and encouraging terrorism and other ills like corruption, etc. you find that after Article 317 are removed, central government has got more power, and they are doing whatever available in their armor, the best, to reduce the terrorism. And today, all of us know that terrorism is much less in J&K. In my opinion, as I said, it was a very well planned exercise, and planning started at least about 18 months earlier. And that is why I personally feel that before they withdrew the support, that is in June 2018, they had made up the mind. It is high time now we fulfill our promise made in our manifesto for abrogation and removal of 31735A. And they removed, they achieved it. I would say that wonderfully done, very intellectually done, and excellent move, excellent planning, excellent execution of the thing. I hope I've liked my video. If you have liked, again, as I would like to request that do share, do like and subscribe, and please tell all your known people, share with them my videos and tell them to subscribe my video. Thank you very much. Good night. God bless.